Hi, my name is Shola Pattison, and I am going to do my presentation with a Prezi and Screencast-O-Matic. I would be presenting my project at the MEA MFT State Conference. Ways to improve homework completion, the big picture. Do you have some students who do not turn in their work? This is a problem many teachers experience and become frustrated with. For me, it's more than just completing homework and projects. It's more about how will these students survive if they do not learn that they need to complete their work. My objective is to provide you with background, worldview perspective, theory of change, pedagogical perspective, tools and strategies to use with your students in order to explain that homework is more than just a grade in the grade book. Students need to learn responsibility for and understand that taking ownership of their work is what they're going to be faced with in the real world. One article I was reading, there was an article by Thompson, Why Students May Not Complete Homework. These were a couple things that were in there. Students do not understand the homework that they're supposed to be doing. They simply forget that they have homework. They have a poor home life, so they have other things to worry about when they get home. Homework just kind of goes to the wayside because they have bigger problems to face. Lack of interest. They become overwhelmed with the workload. Family crisis arises, or students have other interests that are more important than completing their homework. Explanation of systems. So this map right here is one that I created pertaining to one student in particular in my class. The outer box is what happens in the outside of school. So I try to build a relationship with the student outside of school, seeing him on the sidewalk because he lived up the street from me. His dad tried to take away electronics. And then inside school, we spent time together after school because he owed me work. Emails between dad and me, phone calls, face-to-face meetings. I tried collaborating with other teachers. I had the principal involved, talking to me, giving me ideas, talking to the student. And then inside of the classroom, we gave incentives. Then later on, we did map testing, and it turns out that he was kind of bored because he was very intelligent. You have to find out the learning style of the student, and I realized he needed higher rigor. So this is just an easy system map that you could do on your own as a preview of a whole class or just one student in particular, just to see what you've done and what maybe you're missing. This is my system map as an overview of my whole theory of change. So at the top here, I want students to be successful in life outside of high school. So start at the bottom with my question or my problem. Why do students not complete their homework? Well, maybe they don't understand it, they forget, home life, we went over these ones. These are maybe the problems. Then the next is accountability ceiling. What can I do to reach the ultimate goal of being successful? Well, I can teach them why turning in homework matters and what happens if they do not turn in their homework in the real world. Obviously, they're not going to have homework in real life, but it goes to work. What if they don't complete their project at work? So I'll go more in depth on strategies for that later on. So first, what you need to do is you need to categorize your students, and I was able to categorize my students into two categories: indifferent and fatalistic. With the indifferent students, these students might view the material as too easy or too hard, or they just have other interests. So they're capable of the work, but their mind just isn't in the right place. The material is off a little bit. These students often are living in the past. They might feel defeated, powerless, no goals. This might become because of the home life. or if they were in school before, a couple of years ago or last year, they had trouble turning in their homework. It's just kind of a routine. They get stuck in a rut, or they have little or no encouragement outside of the school. So they don't have encouragement to get their homework done. No parents or their parents aren't looking after them saying, did you get your homework done? What did you learn today at school? They're just kind of moving on to bigger things at home. So, intervention. What do we do with these indifferent students? Well, you need to figure out their learning style, their learning preference. You can take this, you can have them take online tests, paper tests, figure out what kind of learners are they? Are they global learners? Are they kinesthetic? Are they visual, audio learners? This is really a good tool to use on your students to figure out how they learn best, so you can make the material, you can adapt the material and modify it so that it fits their preference, so that they're able to learn as much as they can. And then along with that, you need to learn what your students like so you can make it relevant for them. Give them options. Students love to have options, to choose, to feel like they are picking their assignments. The fatalistic intervention, create a safe and encouraging environment first. A lot of these kids come from homes that aren't stable, so being that rock that they need is the first step. Know your students' past. What have they endured in the past that maybe has shaped them the way that they are today? What's their living situation? Are they bouncing from house to house every night, every other night? Do they have their own bedroom? Do they have their space? Do they have space to do their work? Knowing the living environment really allows you to see what the student is coping with at home and what kind of support they have. Social abilities. Do they have friends? What's their home life? What's their friend life like in school and out of school? Are they ones that visit the counselor a lot? Are they worrying more about their friends than work? And parent communication. Being on top of parent communication is a lot easier at the beginning of the year, just jumping on it right away, sending out newsletters, reminds, emails, phone calls. Getting to know your parents first will make the rest of the year a lot easier. Some of the things I've done in school, the first week or so of school, is I do the privacy get to know you card. So students, I give them a note card and I say, write down something you want me to know about you that's going to make me understand how you learn, so I can differentiate, modify my instruction for you. So I give them a story, a personal story about how when I was younger, I really struggled reading out loud and I would get made fun of. So I would write that down on my card saying, I struggle reading out loud and I feel very uncomfortable doing so. So then as a teacher, I could say, okay, Shelda, well, how about we make a cue that if I tap my shoulder, you're going to be the next one to read. So I have the heads up and I can prepare myself. Positive and encouraging attitude, that comes from the teacher. A lot of times these students don't have that at home, so showing them a positive attitude really can change their attitude. Provide specific strategy that fits the student's learning preference and a glimpse of the future. Give them a glimpse of the future. Tell them, show them what hard work and determination can get them in life and how that can break the rut that they live in now. So, Marx's theory of alliteration. It's the worldview that I chose for this case study. It's a theory or practice of socialism, including the labor theory of value in class struggle. So, according to Marx's theory of alliteration, people, the adults, the parents, who work in modern manufacturing companies under capitalist conditions usually control or lose control of their lives because they have no control over their work. So this in turn is passed down to generation to generation. These parents are at this job that it's not going to get them any higher. They're just kind of stuck in a rut. So they lose control of their life. It's just autopilot. So the behaviors that come from these are often acting out, impatient or impulsiveness, speaking wise, gaps in political and social graces, a little bit more limited range of behavior responses. This could be due to the cognitive development. People of middle higher classes might have more experiences, different experiences to learn these cognitive developments, whereas maybe the lower class, they're stuck in a rut. They only can afford so much. They can only do so much, so their learning is limited. And lastly, inappropriate emotional responses. Like I've said before, it's passed on from generation to generation. Oftentimes they get stuck in a rut just with their jobs. So as teachers, it is our jobs to show them what their future can be like if they try really hard and find the skills that they are capable of using, and to really get them to learn that they don't have to follow the footsteps of their parents if they do not want to. Historical and future consciousness. So what's happening and what can we do about it in the classroom? So historical ones, the past ones. How many of you have been caught or have heard another teacher say about their students that, oh, they're just lazy or they don't care about anything? Oftentimes it just stops there. We assume something, but we don't venture to dig deeper into what is actually causing these students to act the way that they do. So these assumptions we often make are linked to worldviews, and in this case, for my presentation, is linked to alliteration. The background a child comes from, their living situation, and how their parents are raising them, and how their parents live. This is what we need to really look at, that sometimes we just dismiss. But this is often the link to how the students are acting. So we need to understand this. The future consciousness, we as educators need to create positive experiences for our students. We need to give them open determination for the future. We need to be their support system to overcome the past. So theory of change, pathways, and rationales. So this, I start at the bottom with my two categories of students. These three right here, indifferent, are these two. We've talked about them earlier on. These are my interventions and indicators. So what am I going to do in my classroom and what should it look like? And then these are my preconditions for success, and this is my ultimate goal. The accountability ceiling is what I personally can do in my classroom. Critical pedagogy. This is the perspective I chose for my case study because it fits with my topic, because my goal is to equip my students with specific tools and strategies that will allow them to succeed outside of the class in the real world. These strategies and tools are geared for students who have a hard time turning in or completing their homework based on a variety of reasons. So what I want you now to do is think, pair, share. We have done this in our classrooms. I'm sure everybody has. So think. I'm going to start the timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds. During this time, I want you to think of as many strategies as you can that would help your students who fall into the fatalistic category. Think of the big picture. What can you teach them to break the mold and give them a positive future in regards to turning in their homework? Pair. 1 minute and 30 seconds again. Find a partner. Share your results. Do you have different ideas? Collaborate and think of any new ones. And lastly, share. We're going to go around and share our results. Explain why you chose the strategies you did and how you think they're going to help break the mold and provide these students with success in the future.